morning, Leo. Something about your energy lately feels different. Not in a dramatic way, not like a sudden overhaul. It's quieter than that. But if you're watching this reading, there's a good chance you're feeling it. Last week was very strange for Leo. And it's that strange moment when you look around your life and you're realizing that something didn't quite fit the same way it used to. Maybe it's a friendship that feels a little forced now. Maybe it's a goal you worked toward for years that suddenly feels less important. Possibly it's just this quiet sense that your priorities have shifted and you're not entirely sure what the next version of life for you looks like yet. And I feel like a lot of people, all of our signs were a lot of us are unemployed, looking for jobs, or maybe we are employed, but you might be trying to venture into it and something new. And let's just sit with that for a moment. Because what I'm picking up here, it's not confusion exactly. It's a transition that a lot of us are going through. And I'm not Leo, I'm a Scorpio, but as Scorpios too, we're transitioning, a lot of us. And the same thing, same topics for Leo. You're not the same person you were a few years ago, and sometimes the most complicated part of growth is realizing that the people around you are still relating to the older version of you. And that can be very difficult. This can create this strange tension where you start questioning things like, do I still belong here? Do these people actually understand me anymore? For some of you, you might already be recognizing that you've outgrown part of your social circle. It's not because anyone did something wrong, but because sometimes growth sometimes moves people in different directions. And that realization can be uncomfortable. But it's also honest. Well, welcome back to Hermit in the Woods Tarot. My name is Matt. If you are new here, I'm really glad you found this little space. Somehow this small cabin in the woods keeps reaching new people who seem to need a moment of quiet reflection. And if the reading resonates with you today, consider liking the video. Subscribe to the channel. It's always free and it helps me grow. Trying to reach new people, and hopefully you like my videos. I'm trying to not be so boring. It's not easy. It's a challenge, definitely. But if the reading resonates with you today, consider liking the videos, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I always enjoy seeing how far this quiet corner of internet reaches. You're also welcome to leave questions in the comments for future readings. A lot of the topics I'd like to explore come directly from people who comment. And so if you want me to pray or focus on something, you know, I'm open. It's always free. And I'll get it in the next reading. Happy to help and hopefully clarify things for you. But you're also welcome to leave questions in the comments for future readings. Just a quick reminder, these readings are general guidance. Not every message will apply to every Leo watching. Maybe not now, but I'm sure sooner or later it will. So this reading can be relative with timing. It could, you know, it's for next week, but it can be months from now, it can be years from now. So anytime you're watching this, definitely there are great messages. Always trust your own judgment and intuition above anything I say here. One thing I say often on this channel is the forest teaches us that growth is rarely loud. And most of us, most real changes happens quietly. It's beneath the surface in moments of reflection when no one else is watching. And that's what this channel is really about. It's about truth-seeking, reflection, personal growth. Not so much a fantasy escape, just an honest conversation about where life might be asking us to evolve. So Leo, let's take a look at the energy surrounding you right now. And I have this feeling the reading's going to speak to an identity shift that's already quietly underway. And for today's reading, I'm using the House of Dragon Tarot deck. And the spread we're working with is something in the book, Iron Throne Spread. And the spread isn't really about power in the traditional sense. It's more about positioning. It's about understanding where you are in the larger story of your life and what choices help you step into the role that's truly meant for you. And the Iron Throne spread looks at things like, it's 5 cards: power, positioning, decisions, destiny, the path toward claiming what's rightfully yours. And for Leo, something I keep coming back in the cards lately is there's this identity shift. And you're evolving into somebody different than you expected. And this is the moment where Leo starts stepping beyond the version of themselves that people are used to seeing. It's maybe you're setting boundaries that surprise people. Maybe you're discovering a new purpose or philosophy about life. Some of you might be letting go of this performer and identity, or a version of Leo that felt responsible for keeping everyone entertained and comfortable. And that's really interesting because that shift begins, or once that shift begins, people around you often react differently. So let's pull 5 cards. And how's it in your neck of the woods there? Here it's quite rainy out. I was outside raking, cleaning up, doing yard work. I'd like to have a fire, but I think the grass is still kind of dry yet, so I'm a little worried about that. But I got a lot of stuff I can burn, and then I got a tree to cut down. It's huge. The first card that pulled was the Hierophant. Nice card there. And this card is in the Iron Throne spread is representing the Dragon's Eye and obstacles. And next we pulled the Knight of Crowns, and that is in reverse. What are we looking for, Leo, for the next week, next month? Any events? What can you tell us about Leo? Alright. The Devil. Yeah, so I went to the city compost site. I wanted to get compost for the garden, but it didn't look like they were ready. It looked quite wet too, so I think you got to pay for it now. There were some parts where it used to be free, but you know, it's like $20 a cubic yard. And the next card is the World, and that is in reverse. One more, and then we'll pull a spirit message, and then later we'll pull two clarifying cards, and I pulled the Six of Dragons, and this is where the path will be leading. So it looks like there's opportunities. If you're looking for a job, there's something out there. And let's pull a spirit message. And I have the Six of Blades. Alright, let's get into this reading. And the first thing I'm noticing here with the Hierophant and the Dragon's Eye, and this is obstacles. And the obstacle isn't really external. It's more about your expectations. The Hierophant often represents systems, traditions, social rules, the way things are supposed to be done. Some of you, there may be pressure from family, work, or your community to follow a certain path. But something about this card makes me feel like you're starting to question those expectations. Maybe you reached a point where you're thinking, well, what if the path everyone expects you to follow isn't really the path that you want anymore? And that's a powerful realization. Sometimes it shows up when someone starts feeling pulled toward a new environment or lifestyle. Possibly you're relocating, changing careers, just rethinking maybe the way you want your daily life to look like. And the challenge or obstacle is trusting your instincts when they lead you somewhere unfamiliar. And the next card, Knight of Crowns, this is the strengths, your strengths. So let me sit with this one for a moment. Normally the Knight of Crowns, it moves slowly, methodically, but reversed, it can suggest a shift in motivation. Like someone realizing they've been working hard towards something that no longer excites you. This might sound discouraging at first, but it's a strength. It's your strength, and it's because you're recognizing that your priorities might have changed, and the first step toward discovering a new sense of purpose is letting go of the old. So for some Leos watching this, you may be redefining what success even means to you. Maybe success used to look like recognition, status, maybe financial stability. And now it might look like more about peace, balance, and authenticity. And that's a big shift. Right, let's get into the next card on the spread, which this is the card that represents who held the throne before you. And we pulled the Devil. And so it's starting to show a bigger picture here. Something about this card suggests that in the past there might have been a pattern of feeling tied to responsibilities or expectations that really drained your energy. And the Devil often shows up when your emotional truth becomes impossible to ignore. So you might be dealing with addictions, maybe old habits. Maybe you stayed in a situation longer than you wanted to because you felt obligated. Possibly you played a role in relationships that kept everyone else comfortable, but it really left you feeling exhausted. And eventually there comes a point where that kind of dynamic becomes impossible to maintain. And so you're starting to realize that choosing peace over validation might be necessary, and it's never easy. And because when you begin stepping out of old roles, people sometimes react. So next, let's get into your hidden strengths, and we pulled the World, which is in reverse. And this card, it feels like perspective. For some of you, there's a connection, maybe a friendship, maybe a romantic relationship that once felt confusing or distant. And lately you may be starting to see that situation is more clearly defined, and understanding why someone behaved the way that they did, or realizing that a connection simply wasn't aligned where you were going. And sometimes clarity arrives after that emotional exhaustion. You probably looking back and thinking, you know, that's what was really happening. And that kind of awareness is powerful because it allows you to close a chapter of life with understanding instead of holding on to resentment. And here's the best possible outcome of the Iron Throne spread, and it's the Six of Dragons, which this card has a really supportive energy. It feels like recognition, but not the kind that comes from trying to impress people. It's more like the kind that arrives when you start living authentically. And for some Leos, this could show up as support from friends, community, or possibly colleagues that genuinely appreciate the person you're becoming. And I keep coming back to this idea that a new chapter is beginning to open here. It's not overnight, it's not dramatically, but a steady progression. Alright, so let's get into the spirit message, and we pulled the Six of Blades for you. And this card always feels like a perspective. It's like somebody stepping back from a confusing situation. You're finally seeing the bigger picture. For some of you, again, that's that clarity that is coming from after a period of emotional uncertainty. You might realize that the path ahead, it's not about proving anything anymore. It's about stepping onto a new path that actually feels aligned with who you are now. And the forest reminds us that quiet growth is still growth. So let's move into the astrological energy expansion coming in the next week. And the astrology around this period is really supportive of reflection and long-term planning. And around March 8th, Venus meets Saturn in Aries, and it's activating your 9th house, which has a lot to do with beliefs, learning, travel, and a future vision. So some of you might be thinking about expanding your world in some way. And again, this is education, philosophy, possibly relocating somewhere that better matches your evolving identity. And then on March 9th, we see Mercury connecting with Jupiter. And in a way that's encouraging private reflection and intuitive insight. And it's probably why you're watching this video right now. You need to open up your avenues and explore philosophically new ideas. And the best way to do that is to watch videos, or go Google things. But this kind of energy is where people suddenly have breakthroughs. Possibly you're journaling, taking a walk, or just sitting quietly with their thoughts. Creativity And romantically, there's also a boost of inspiration. And this tells me that Leo's confidence may begin returning after a period of uncertainty. And the Hermit parable, it's about a traveler that once walked through a dense forest carrying a lantern. For years he had followed the same road, walking beside the same companions. One evening he reached a small wooden bridge crossing a quiet stream. And on the other side of the path, on the other side, the path disappeared into unfamiliar woods. And the traveler hesitated, and behind him were the voices of people who expected him to keep walking the same road. And ahead of him was silence. He lifted the lantern and realized something. And the lantern didn't light the entire forest. It only illuminated the next few steps. And that was enough. And there's a verse that comes to mind here. Psalm 119:105. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Not the whole journey, just the next step. Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and he will make your path straight. Sometimes faith simply means trusting the quiet direction that your heart keeps pointing toward. So let's pull some clarifying cards, and let's clarify what's on the horizon. How does this connect with the reading with Leo? And the Hermit, my favorite card. And another card flew down here, which was the Three of Dragons. And so again, we get those dragons there. And the Hermit, again, very appropriate for my channel. The Hermit often appears when someone needs time to reflect before stepping into the next chapter. And it doesn't mean isolation forever. It just means that wisdom often arrives through solitude. Confidence returns when you allow yourself the space to hear your own thoughts again. And finally, the Three of Dragons. And here we see forward movement. This card feels like planning the next step, considering new possibilities, weighing that different path. And once a decision is made, circumstances tend to improve. The moment you commit to the direction that feels right, things begin to align. So for Leo, the message here isn't about dramatic change. It's about identity, evolution. You're becoming someone even you didn't fully expect. And sometimes that means stepping beyond the version of yourself that others are familiar with. Not everyone will understand that shift right away. Growth rarely asks people for permission. But thank you for spending this time with me here at Hermit in the Woods Tarot. Again, if the reading resonated, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel. It's always free, and it helps this channel get in the algorithm, which is tough to get out there. Letting me know in the comments what part spoke to you most. Your support does help this little cabin continue reaching other people who might need a little guidance. And always remember that sometimes the answers we're searching for were already waiting in the quiet. And until next time, take care of yourselves and keep walking your path. Again, thank you for watching.